Well, I'm going to talk about something else that happens in the English classroom. And this moment happened last spring in my gay and lesbian class. It was a wonderful class, 35 people, really good feeling. This was towards the end. I had assigned a book of stories by Dorothy Allison called Trash. I don't know how familiar you all are with Dorothy Allison. She wrote Bastard out of Carolina, and her work is very raw, deals with a lot of abuse and pain. So the students had read the book, and now this was the first class on trash, and they were telling me how they responded to it. And what they wanted to talk about, what they all were saying, was they didn't believe that it actually happened. They didn't believe that the things that Dorothy Allison had written about had actually happened to her or could actually happen. So I'm on my feet and I'm thinking, where do I go from this? And I made a connection to when I had felt as they did. And I said, you know, I'm really glad to hear that you don't believe Dorothy Allison, because that tells me that none of you has had a life in which those things are ordinary. And I don't blame you for not wanting to believe that human beings are capable of such evil. When I first heard about the Holocaust when I was a young teenager, I couldn't believe it either. It seemed, how could this be true? And then I continued to tell the class some of the things that I had learned that human beings had done, like making lampshades out of people's arm. And they were very quiet. And I said that these things happen and that there's a lot more going on in the world than your experience accounts for. And it wasn't so much what I said next, which I don't even remember, but it was more the aha moment for all of us. And that was one story twist, because I write fiction, and so it can't just be simple. Then the next part of the story comes when I was talking to Lenny and telling her what happened in the class, and Lenny's response was, well, you could bring in statistics about abuse and how many women are abused, and that made me understand that no, that wasn't the point in the literature class. The point wasn't whether is it true or not true, or how true is it, but it was more to open yourself up and to entertain points of view that may even be repellent, because that's what we do in literature. We look through another's pair of eyes at what it is that this person sees. And then the next aha moment came just on Wednesday when I was talking to Jonathan, telling Jonathan what my story was, and Jonathan was listening, and I saw as he was listening that his face was mirroring the emotions that I was talking about. And after I finished telling him the story, he reacted to it and showed me that he was moved. And that made me understand another thing that we do in literature classes, which is that we talk from the heart, and that literature is from the heart. into the heart, and from the heart words. And Jonathan's response reminded me that of two things that I had just recently read. And one was in the play Wit, which is about a female professor who's dying of cancer. And she thinks, what do I regret? And she thinks about her career, and she was very tough and insulting to her students and very rigorous. And her answer to herself is, I should have been kinder. And I was reading a book by Jan Morris, who at this point is 72 years old. And she's writing about the country of old age and how old age or age changes you. And she says that a lot of things don't matter to her anymore. And the only thing really that seems to matter is kindness. And so now I will wrap up. The moral of the story to me at this moment in time would just always remember in the classroom to be kind. And sometimes that's so hard to be kind. You just get angry and you feel you're being taken advantage of, you're being lied to, you're not being appreciated. And yet that's really not what it's